And today, this is my very first video where I'm going to be talking about dragons. Now we're going to look at dragons in Pathfinder mainly, because that's what I want to specialise in. There is a lot of videos out there for D&D dragons and the D&D gods and various other things, but I thought it would be nice if we could have a lore video that's specialised in the Pathfinder dragons. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm trying to find all the dragons in Pathfinder and do a lore breakdown for them. I might include some stats at some point, but this is mainly to just talk about the lore and what's good and what's bad in lore in Pathfinder about dragons. So we're going to talk about the red dragon. Now, dragons in Pathfinder are a little different to their D&D counterparts. Red dragons are a menace to civilizations everywhere, and their strength is only rivaled by their arrogance. Red dragons see themselves as regents and overlords of all dragon kind, with their crowns of crimson spines and their command of blistering fire. This is no haughty boast in their eyes, it is only fact. Red dragons don't speak with lesser creatures. Humanity and others are beneath them. They are pawns or at best, and at worst, gnats to be smashed beneath paw or claw or flame. They enslave and they conquer. They are masters and see no other, even their own kind, as equals. They take pleasure in dominating and controlling things. And anyone who dares oppose them is rendered to ash or eaten. They command with a haughty king's authority, and they brook no questioning to their rule. When to say a red dragon is like a tyrant emperor is an understatement. An adult red dragon who is hundreds, maybe even up to 1,000 years old, is a being that has cultivated his empire of minions longer than any human lifespan, and therefore those humans or lesser races that come to talk to him as an equal are nothing for her. Now, this arrogance, this haughtiness is also their greatest weakness. Red dragons are so convinced by their power scale above lesser creatures that sometimes they ignore threats that they seem like mere toys to be knocked aside, and when their minions fail them, it only makes them more angry about lesser creatures and thinking that they must take matters into their own hand. How dare a king have to rise from his throne and deal with insignificant gnats in the kingdom? Now, saying this, red dragons are most likely to ravage or attack settlements, maybe lesser, younger versions of themselves, whereas the older ones will maybe take a step back and enjoy the fruits of their minions' labour. The younger ones will be racked with a kind of need to dominate physically and visually. They will be in the fields, they will be burning people's houses, they will be smashing castles under their claws and flames, and they can manipulate spells far greater than any lesser wizard. And they are magnificent in their hoards of treasure and artifacts. But their lairs are always in a precarious place, sometimes on the top of a high cliff with only one way to get on or off. And if they slumber too heavily and roll over, that will be the end of them if they do not wake up in time, or deep within a volcano that is still active. It is strange that a dragon who thinks so mighty of himself would put himself into such, or herself into such a dangerous location. Now, their lairs can, as I said, be filled with masses of treasure, but they like beds of coins of all denominations and gold, silver, but they will not brook any lesser than that. And this horde is theirs. It is their bed, and as they sleep, the heat of their breath and their body will melt, points into a sort of layer. Their precious, their beds, their comfort. This, of course, can be found in the Beastiary, page 112. It is a creature of level 14 level, an adult red dragon. It speaks common, of course. Draconic, of course. Dwarven and Orcish. Now, a young red dragon will have some 4th level spells, some 3rd level spells, some 2nd level spells, and 1st level spells. It will also have 4 cantrips. An adult red dragon will have it will have up to level 6 spells. Now, okay, so while there are many types of dragons, from the powerful planular dragons to the esoteric dragons, few dragon varieties are well known as the mighty red dragon. The red dragon himself, or themselves, are what you would consider the most well known in Pathfinder. Now, they appear on some covers, they appear in everything. A red dragon is a very visual and wonderful thing in D&D and Pathfinder and other games. And I've started with this because the red dragon is so popular in myth, in legend, in lots of other things. Now, while we had a look at some of the lore in Pathfinder about the red dragon, now I'm going to interject some things about how you can use a red dragon as a good guy or as an antagonist that comes up, or a funny character. So let's look at him as a good guy. Now, I understand that people want to keep monsters as monsters and bad guys as bad guys. Now, a red dragon is a very haughty individual also, but haughty doesn't have to mean that he's bad. You see, a red dragon could be adopted by a group of adventurers, or even a wizard who picks it up in a market from someplace. This absent-minded wizard or this group of adventurers take this dragon, it hatches with them and it lives with them and it learns from them. Without the parental guidance of its kin, it starts to see the damage and how it's affecting its friends. Now, obviously, a red dragon's nature is to be haughty, is to think that he's better than the rest of the species, but if these people have brought him up, they've looked after him, he might see them as his treasured objects, he might see them as his hoard, and the people that they live with as their hoard. So you could do it that way, that this dragon was adopted by these adventurers long ago and has become sort of like folktale, a figure that is humanoid, walks around and he makes sure that the village is okay. When there's bad harvest, he'll bring food. When there's people attacking, he will appear and then he will disappear, and all of a sudden a great dragon will burn enemies to ash, and then the man will come back, or the woman will come back and take care of the townspeople. They're his hoard, they're his protection, they're his objects. You see, when you have an archetype of a red dragon, when you have an archetype like this, it doesn't have to be evil. And yes, I understand that people want to keep red dragons as bad, and monsters as bad and good guys as good, but this should never stop you from putting your own spin on a character, from putting your own spin on a monster. For example, this red dragon, he was adopted by a bard. The bard was known as the worst bard in the kingdom. He could not sing to save his life, he could not dance, he could not perform. And all that made him money was the little dragon that wandered around him and would look up at the human as a wormling and feel sorry for this poor man, or poor person. So the dragon decides that he would dance, and maybe he would copy this bard. He would try and sing, with the croaky little flames coming out, and eventually this bard would get a reputation, but not for himself, but for this dragon that would perform with him. As this bard grows into old age, the dragon becomes very morose and sad. that his mentor, his friend, is gone, and while at one period the dragon was better, he was more acrobatic, more funny, more thing. He keeps his mentor's style and his jokes and his dance alive, and he dances in the kingdom, and and he's very protective of this. He's very protective of this. Now, while he can do more things with flame, he still tells the same old jokes. He still tells these things in the awful, awful voice that his master once did, or mistress once did. So he's a very sympathetic dragon. He's lived, goes around the kingdom, goes around the empire, whatever setting you want to put him in. And one time they think, right, so your party could be, they know of this bard that goes around the kingdom, and everyone said this bard has been going around, she's been going around centuries, doesn't seem to age, and the Bard College or some guild wants to know why this person doesn't seem to age, why they have these weird acrobatics and flames and stuff. So they send the adventuring party off to find the bard, and they find them, and that could be a way of introducing this funny NPC. You could obviously do it as an antagonist if you'd wanted to, but you could also do it as like a fun recurring NPC that eventually the NPCs would get on his good side, or their good side, the dragon's good side, and he's probably got some coins, lots of coins from these performances. People might give him some to shut him up or stuff. So eventually he's built up quite a collection of coins and stuff. So he's like, well, I can give you some coins if you'll do me this job. And okay, what's this job? Well, I want you to get back one of my old master's songs from this other person. So you could use him in that way, but you could portray him in a more sympathetic, jovial way. I know this is more of a metallic dragon trait, but there's nothing wrong with doing it for a red dragon. You can use the arrogance and the haughtiness, this is my song, this was my master's song, I'm not gonna let anyone else deal with it, and I'd send some humans to deal with humans, kind of thing. My horde is mine, and my minion, he's got some, obviously he's a dragon, or she's a dragon, so he's got some minions, but he doesn't want to use his own minions on getting some song back. He just wants some nobodies that he can, doesn't have to deal with afterwards. But that's what you could do. Now, Pathfinder, you can have these chromatic dragon spellcasters, and you can have a beast tamer as well. So those are things you can do. Now, if you want to use a spellcaster, you have to remove some of the frenzy and the momentum abilities on the dragon and replace them with arcane spells instead, and higher intelligence and charisma. And there you go, you've got a more interesting, more intelligent red dragon straight away. Now, it does go on to mention the law of Galarian, which is the Pathfinder setting. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about now, and then we're going to wrap up. The chromatic dragons that dwell around the inner sea are cruel and sinister. Again, you don't have to use them like this. This is just Galarian law. They are monsters which inspire as much fear as reverence. The terrible beasts are no mere myth, however, but they're a very real threat to individuals and to the people at large, with whom they share the lands. Most dwell within wild places of the world, and the most brazen of them regularly meddle in mortal affairs. The dragons of Galarian believe that they are descended from two original beings, Aspu and Tiamat, and their rich mythology attempts to explain the origins of the age-old war between chromatic and metallic dragons. One of the most infamous red dragons, Ashak, worm priestess of the draconic god Dahak, makes her home amongst the Isles of Shackles, where she lords over her followers and leads raids throughout the inner sea. So maybe you can do as a pirate if you wanted to. That might be kind of interesting, a red dragon pirate character, yeah. So there's a limitless potential with red dragons in Pathfinder. I hope that very first red dragon video was illuminating. When we come back, we're going to look at some other incarnations of the dragons in Galarian and the Pathfinder setting. I hope that was fun. I really love dragons, so I hope this series will do well. Thank you everyone for your time. Do take care of yourselves, and bye bye.